one point that I want to discuss further from what you mentioned was like the whole process. Right now we're seeing a lot organic, cage-free, grass-fed, that whole thing. Um, what's like what's the biggest point that you would say um would benefit us as people, that as consumers that
Sure.
buys these foods versus a person that just buys like generic or just buys like their favorite brand or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, so you asked what's the top thing I could kind of share about that is that, that there are a lot of certifications out there, and that, there's everything from organic, free, and like you said, free range, which we don't quite always know what that means. That's a the range is big on free range, FYI, FY is all. But no, there's a big range. But I have a kind of a love hate with healthy food, because I love healthy food, but the question is, what is truly healthy, right?
Yeah.
Does a certification, the stamp, make it healthy? Sometimes I don't know all the companies, so I don't know what necessarily all the things are that people do in their farms, and people acquire land, so we don't know always. So maybe that's off point, maybe that's going a little too far, but I guess the point is that that you've heard me make is that the best food that we can consume is going to be food that we are, is close and local to us.
Mm.
I think that that's for a lot of reasons, not just for health and nutrition, um, but
From an energy perspective,
from an energy perspective,
precisely, I would imagine is better like local, right? Compared to like this huge
yeah.
production.
Well, yeah, well, energy, yes. You just said energy, and the first thing that came to me was gas. So, yes, from an energy consumption
Mm,
perspective, it's local is going to be better because it's closer. There's less consumption there. But from an
mm,
energy perspective, in other ways, if we know the person who's raising our chickens or who's growing our tomato or food, whatever tomatoes or whatnot, whatever, it, we know that animal, not the tomatoes, but the chickens, and we can watch how they're being treated, and that energy actually affects what's in their milk
mm.
or what's in their eggs. I'm thinking of different animals here. but
Yeah.
but yeah, so the energy does matter. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. Especially like you said with like the animals like in bulk being in production, I'll say they to really be sensitive to viewers, like because we are trying our best to see you. If you come across this video, we want to just really let you know that we just want to bring this knowledge to you, and give you the ugly truth rather than beautiful eyes, and state what's really happening, what's really going on, to serve ourselves better, as people. um that production, it's like sometimes not the best conditions, right? It's like almost inhumane.
Oh, it's torturous. There's torturous conditions happening to animals all over. I mean,
Yeah.
and our food. I mean, our food is, our there's no the energy going into it. Is not good. Like I literally have had patients who have food allergies, and they have problems, autoimmune problems, and different types of issues here in the U.S. No matter where they are, but at home generally, and they go to Europe. And they can eat all these foods that they were never able to tolerate here in the US.
Wow.
And I think
That's
that
huge.
yeah,
Same thing, but it's just different environment,
bred.
literally.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Wow.
true. It's true. And so the energy, it's not just so simple as like we talked about the, calories. It's not so simple as
Hmm.
bread is bread or an egg is an egg. Those two eggs, went through a lot of different things to become an egg, starting with the chicken's life that had them. So it's food is an interesting thing. I mean, everyone has always known that food is energy, but it's like we're not really thinking about the full effect of what that means
Yeah.
by a food label. And a food label used to be enough, but it's not even enough anymore because, clients who will ask me like, well, what about this brand? What about that brand? And yes, I know apps who will rate different brands, but like I would, before I say what I think is a great quality. I would like to be able to visit and see, like, you know, because an apple isn't an
Mm,
apple isn't, you know, in general in life in every aspect. So it's almost like, you know, again, why is local better? It's not just about trend or coolness or even just gas consumption. It's about doing business. It's about economics, doing business with your neighbors. It's about, you know, being able to see firsthand and know firsthand if a piece of property was, you know, extremely, you know, maybe dumped on, for all we know, chemicals, and then someone
yeah,
else bought it and turned it into a farm. But we've lived, you know, staying where you are from is a good thing, I think, at this point in life. Like, I think that that's like the next phase, like kind of like what our grandparents, parents maybe lived. You know, now it's a great grandparents kind of thing, but you know, those values, like we kind of have to bring it back. Do you know what I'm saying? And food is a
absolutely.
perfect and an easy way to start. You know, so that, you know, that's what I'm about. You know, I've practiced as a dietitian in cardiovascular clinic. I've practiced as a dietitian in neuro rehab, and I understand how, you know, the practice is at this point based on my experience, and I understand about the consumer. But I think that it's time to kind of like truly up level, you know, in terms of how we're taking care of our societies, and it all starts, or a lot of it starts with our food and putting the good energy inside our own bodies so that we can function at
Mm,
our maximum and we're not just trying to get by. Because we have to change kind of how
mhm.
we're living, and that's going to take some effort, you know, and it's hard enough to just kind of like get life, like get done everything you need to. Dishes are clean and your sheets are clean and it's bedtime. You know, like that's
Mhm.
like those are my goals, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
but 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 now it's like we may have to start to incorporate some new methods of production, food production for ourselves,
And at least
you
have a
know.
focus on that.
What's that?
Yeah. And at least have like a focus on that rather than like
Start
kind of
thinking about
being
it.
comfortable of like kind of routine based, especially if our bodies doesn't agree with that, you know? I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's time to start thinking about it, having this conversation, hence you and me here today. And you know, it's a conversation, but I think it start needs, like, we're kind of in a contemplation mode, pre-contemplation, contemplation, a lot of society, and now it's time to get
Yeah.
into action.